2001 was called the United Nations Rapporteur, which is a fancy word for means investigator for the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. And right now he's James Anaya. He's the second person that's held this position in the United Nations. He's based right here at University of Arizona. And for the first time this year, he officially investigated on behalf of the United Nations, the UN, the United States, to see if the United States is actually upholding the rights of Indigenous peoples, applying the UN Declaration on Rights of Indigenous Peoples. There was a big hearing here in Tucson, but we also organized for him to go to a lot of other places, South Dakota. We took him to Rosebud Reservation, Sintegleshka Indian University, an Indigenous university. He went to Portland, he went to Oklahoma, he went to Washington, D.C., and he also went to Alaska, where there's a lot of Native people. So with that introduction, I'm just going to introduce Sewa Carmen. She's Yaqui on her dad's side, and Athabascan Indian nation from Alaska on her mom's side. So she was, I think, the youngest person across the whole country that was asked to officially do a testimony to the UN Rapporteur on Rights of Indigenous Peoples. So her words went to the United Nations based on that. So I think then she can say a few things about what she did.
Hello, my name is Sewa Carmen. I'm in the 9th grade at Marana High School. My mother is Shona Larson and my dad is Gabe Carmen. First, I would like to recognize and thank my ancestors who have survived a lot of things to be here today. I would also like to recognize the elders and other Native communities who are here today, as well as my relatives today. On my mom's side, I am Ahtna Athabascan from Chickaloon Village and Suqpiat from Fort Graham, Alaska. On my dad's side, I am from the Yaqui Nation, which is located in Arizona and Sonora, Mexico. I started attending Yanni-Da'a school at Chickaloon Village when I was 2 in the tribal daycare and preschool program. Yanni-Da'a, which means Our Ancient Teachings, is the only tribally owned and operated school in the state of Alaska. We learn math, reading, writing, but we also learn about Athabascan culture, history, language, stories, sewing, fishing, and hunting. The goal of our school is to teach us our Athabascan culture, language, and values to the new generations. When I went to public school, I began realizing how the lessons about our tribe and other cultures would help me in everyday situations. I really appreciate what we were taught about having respect for teachers and elders and the kids in the land. My parents put me in public school so I could learn to walk in both ways. That way I could understand where the people have come from and why they went through and what they went through so I could be here today. And I can also understand what we need to protect, what they left us, the land, the animals, the fish, our language, and culture. These are the things that will keep us strong. My ancestors were strong men and women. The women on both sides of my family went through a lot, but they also knew how to survive and keep their spirits strong, even when it was hard for them. I know that they passed on their strength to me and other young people in my family. My Yaqui great-grandmother, who the family called Nana, saved herself and a little brother by hiding behind a big rock when she was 12. And the soldiers killed her family in the fight to take their village and their land. That was in 1912 in Nogales, right near the border between Mexico and Arizona. Nana would still dream about that when she was an elder, and she would wake up crying about it, remembering how it was. She stayed strong her whole life. But by surviving, she made it possible for my grandma, my dad, and me to be alive. And she didn't only save herself, she saved her little brother too. She didn't run away, she protected him, which was very brave. I think about that when I see my little brother Tale and hope that I could be brave like that too. On my mother's side, in Alaska, the women in our family and tribe are strong too. My Aunt Katie Wade and my Grandma Helen kept our language alive, even though the settlers tried to take the land and the kids away to boarding schools, where they were beaten for speaking our native language. My Aunt Katie's mother, who was named Annie, hid her away when people came to take the children away from Chickaloon to the boarding schools. That way, she kept the language strong, and then she started the Yoni-Da'a school to teach kids in the village the language again. If it wasn't for my Aunt Katie, too much would have been lost forever for our village. My mother, Shauna Larson, and Grandma Andrea Carmen are strong women too. They're fighting for human rights in the United Nations and around the world. My grandma helped write the United Nations Declaration on Rights of Indigenous Peoples. Now we can help use it to defend our rights, our land, our culture, spirituality, and self-determination in our traditional way of life. My grandma taught my mom to do that work when she was just a teenager, and now my mom is teaching it to me. Now I'm learning from both of them how to stand up and defend my rights. We are using all of those rights to fight against a coal mine in Alaska, which they're opening up across the Yoni-Da'a school on our traditional lands. The coal mine would destroy the land and culture that our ancestors worked so hard to protect. And I know that I have to carry on that work to support our elders and do our part as young people. That is how the women in my family help me be strong. They pass down our culture and language, and they also the fighting spirit to protect our rights and way of life. I want to thank all the women in my family and all our Native families who have been brave and worked so hard to protect our cultures, our family, and our land. That way, they are why I am alive today, and I have learned so much from them. Someday, I can pass things down to my daughter and granddaughter. We are like a strong river that rises and falls and is always connected. We will never stop flowing. Teach-in'12.